Hello, good afternoon. So as promised, I am here to do our tarot teaching moment early since I have to work at the Grand Slam tonight from 5 to 10 doing readings. And so we're going to keep advancing and progressing on our one journey. So, with tarot, fives are all about a conflict of sorts. And each of these suits with the fives holds a different type of medicine that we can think upon and reflect to see what areas in our life need changing, or maybe looking at it a different way. So with this one, so we went from the party last night, which was the Four of Wands, and now we're on the five, indicated by the Roman numeral for five. And what we're seeing here are five people, and it looks like they are not agreeing with each other. They're fighting amongst each other. And there's a lot of yellow. So between the yellow coloration, and we also have a lot of red, and at times we also have a bit of orange, because again, the color orange is commonly utilized with wands because it reflects that fiery element, which is that enthusiasm. So what we have here is people with differing opinions and a lot of ego. So this can mean different things. Hi, Christy. Good afternoon. Glad you're here. So this card can mean different things. So it could be ego. So that's that part of our brains, which it's more of a protective mechanism. It's like that little voice in your head that can make you feel on the defensive based on what somebody does to you or what they say to you, that makes you question yourself and it can make you feel inadequate. Among other feelings would be envy, jealousy, malice. It can really produce some really strong, nasty feelings, which is why it's really important to reflect and gain that insight, which is on your shadow self, what we internally carry. And it's also kind of acknowledging the ego. So when that happens, it's really important to be able to tell our brains, hey, I know that you are trying to keep me safe. However, I need to consider, say, this point of view presented by other people, or maybe I should consider the way that I've always done it. Maybe my way's not the best way, and being open for that change without being closed off. Because what we're seeing in this picture are five individuals who are very fiery individuals. They have strong opinions, and they are not communicating well. They are all speaking at the same time without giving their colleagues in the picture an opportunity to speak and allowing them to finish what they're saying. They simply want to be heard. They do not want to compromise. So that could come to light when you're talking about say with romantic relationships. It could reflect disagreements there, where neither party wants to compromise or really give the other person the courtesy of hearing them out. Listening is so hard to do. Being quiet, listening, comprehending, and being like, hey, I hear that this is what you're telling me. Because the key word to communication that I've learned from previous jobs would be perception. That's the key word. So say I will tell you, say, the sky is blue in this card. I see what I see. However, you may see something different. We might disagree on the shade of blue, or be more so focused on another area to where the person's like, why are you even talking about that sky when there's sheer chaos going on in the card? Why are you even bringing up the sky? So it's listening with the intent and the courtesy. I think it's a courtesy we do for others to be quiet, be present, listen, and reflect and be like, hey, this is what I believe I'm hearing you tell me. Is this correct? Let them finish and then state your viewpoint. That happens in general with any type of interpersonal communication, whether it be romantic friendships, your friends, especially because when you get close to people, their guard goes down. So they are more than likely going to reveal sides to themselves that otherwise they'd be more conservative about because they're afraid of being rejected by people when they are not really known by others. So that's what we're looking at with this. With finances, it shows that that's a problem too. This is not a good place as far as finances go as well. There is a conflict there. So it would be maybe stepping back and assessing where your money is going. Maybe in the Four of Wands, the person spent exuberantly and got carried away buying the food and the drinks and the entertainment, and they got to drinking with people, and they're like, oh, I'm doing whatever, I need money, could you help me out? Sure, I can help you out. And then the morning after determine, gosh, I got a little too carried away. So see, it's a time to reflect on that. So with it in reverse, there's some different things that can be going on. So if it's in reverse, it could mean that people are allowing things to bottle up to where, how do I put this? The two individuals or more, it could be a group of people, so at work, may all have differing opinions on something and the way they believe it should be done based on their knowledge, their experience, or just sheerly based on their opinion, right? And the moment somebody opens their mouth, they might be tempted to say something, but a lot of people, from what I've observed, shy away from conflict. Now, there is such a thing as constructive conflict as long as it's in a safe environment where the other party remains feeling safe. You have a conversation where you would disagree with them, but you treat them with respect. There's no name calling. It's being very well aware of your body language and your tone. All that comes into play with communication. With here, we're looking at maybe they're not communicating because they don't feel safe to do so, or they feel like, oh, it doesn't matter what I think anyway. It's not going to change anything. Like, how many times have we heard that in general, especially when it comes to work? So that's why it's really important to have these conversations. Now, let's say it could also mean that people have stepped away from the upright meaning of the card with all this chaos and the inadequate communication. With the reversal of that meaning, we're talking that they are allowing each person to verbalize their thoughts on the situation and giving them that safe space to talk, to where all the fiery personalities, because we're dealing with fire, feel honored and respected. They feel that what they have to say and what they bring has value. Then we're looking at a cessation, like an end of conflict. So a reversal can be a good thing. Not all reversals are bad. As far as like another meaning with this, which is, it's very important to bring this up, would be, it can be a card of deception. So we haven't gotten to it yet because we have not covered the Suit of Swords. But say if you get a Three of Swords especially, in addition to this reversed, that means we've got some deception in play. There's somebody that's not being forthright. They could be telling you or somebody else something that is inaccurate. So you have to determine the source. Where is this communication coming from? Is it a reliable source, or is this gossip from the rumor mill? Or does this person have an intention to say, I hate to say it, do you in? Because the previous ones, our character was excelling, progressing, establishing roots with their relationships, their career, their finances. This could be somebody who's jealous, who thinks that you shouldn't have what you have. So this card, when it's in reverse, really encourages people to step away, to maybe not reveal your thought processes. And if, like, keep your own counsel And if you consult with somebody else, be highly particular about who that person is, especially from my life experience. If it's somebody who gossips, like every time you're around them, oh, have you heard about what so-and-so did? Ooh, let me tell you about what I heard or what I saw. Well, it's a hard truth, but get strapped in because I'm about to tell you. More than likely, they're gossiping about you. Those are the type of toxic personalities. They thrive off of conflict and drama, even though it can be so hurtful and so negative to others. So what I learned early on is when people would approach me, I'd be like, have you talked to so-and-so about how you feel or what you're thinking? No, I think you should do that instead of talking about everybody else, or to everybody else about this person, because by the time it gets back to them, you think about that thing we did when we were little kids, where you talk into somebody's ear and it goes all around the room. And then by the time they get to the last student, it's a completely different story. So again, it's not giving in to these toxic individuals or behaviors, because they're certainly out there. There's always one. No matter any type of work setting I've ever been, there's always one who wants to be a disturber. And that's why anytime I start somewhere new, or if I'm in a new group, I am observing the dynamic, how people converse, how they treat each other, and especially if they're wanting to drag people through the mud and they keep doing this and there's a pattern. No, I'm not going to trust that person because their behavior speaks volumes. So that's what this means when it's in reverse. So I'm going to go over whatever I may have jotted down just to kind of recap and make sure I covered everything. So with the upright meaning, we're looking at competition. We're looking at holding position versus compromise. And see, I really believe when we see this, it depends on what the issue is. If you feel strongly about it, you've got the data, everything points to what you're saying, then you need to be strong in your position, especially if it impacts others and it's for the greater good. But if you don't have all your ducks in a row and you don't have all this to support your belief, your claim, you might need to change your insight, and you need to be comfortable enough as a human being, because we're all flawed, to be like, I didn't look at it that way before, and hey, I'm sorry. Especially if communication goes awry, and that's common. Just own up to it. Say, I'm sorry. You could say, hey, I got in my feelings a little bit, but kind of take ownership, because ownership goes a long way, So we have fiery opinions and disagreements. So each of these individuals are fiery people. Misunderstandings, people on the defensive. They also said it could be a sporting event. I could see that. Because the way, look at their body posture, their stances, the way that they're hitting these ones against each other. It's not like in this picture they're going for their head, like they're trying to kill somebody. It almost seems like it's more playful. So again, it goes into the overall context and the perception of what's going on. But I thought that was interesting. It's feeling stressed and in a weak position. Again, we're talking ego. Somebody feels threatened. Keeping your own counsel and being highly selective. So with this, again, there's a need for communication. But especially, again, if it's in reverse, to be very aware of who you're around at that moment and being very selective about what you say and to who. Because reversals, they stand for the deception. Again, consider the source, dishonesty. And it's also, when it's upright, and I wrote this down and I underlined it twice to make sure that I went over it. So with this upright, we're looking at jealousy, greed, and envy. So this is an opportunity to improve yourself. So myself or yourself, without malice toward the other person, not resenting them. And I think part of that too is rooted in how none of us, even though I've learned to embrace change in life, it's still not comfortable. So like the same thing when a snake is shedding its skin, it is very known that a snake will be irritable. It does not want to be picked up. It doesn't even want to eat. It's painful to shed that skin ideally, hopefully in one smooth shed and not have it be a broken off shed, which increases the painful process. So I think that's what we're seeing too with this. It's, again, being aware of ego. We all have egos. It's a natural protective mechanism that it impacts the way our brain tries to protect us, saying, hey, don't do that. What are you thinking taking that risk? Aren't you concerned about A, B, and C happening? That's ego, Let's see here. And again, we have the clashes of ego with it being upright. And even with it reversed, let's say once everybody airs out their respective opinions and they get out of their system, they can always agree to disagree too. There can always be a truce, So I think that's important to bring up. And so that pretty much covers what I wanted to cover with that, other than, of course, taking the environment. So this looks to be a mountainous region. Again, mountains are synonymous with conflict, and with the color blue, we have linked the color blue out of many descriptors as truth. These individuals are wanting to express their truth, and with it being upright, not feeling like they're valued or heard. So I'll hold up our comparison cards. So here we see different people. We see men and women. So we know it's not the same person climbing up, say, the theoretical ladder. They all are competitive. So I think the artist did a really great job drawing these people out and this ladder made of wands to reflect that each person is trying to obtain that, they want that acknowledgement. They want to be the one credited for success. And I hate to say it, this is the type of person, this is like, other than, we're dealing with ego, but this is bad karma. It's all in how you reach your end goals. You never, ever, ever want to do it at the expense of another living being, whether it be a little animal or a person, because I keep my belief system very close to me, even though sometimes I'm sure I communicate some of my beliefs. I do believe in karma. So I do believe whatever we put out into the universe, we are going to get it back times 3. So be sure, and that goes for me too, before we make any decisions, we have to consider, are we stepping on other people to get to where we're going? And truly, honestly, even if it wasn't for that rule of 3, is that really how we want to reach our goals in life is by doing in other people? No way, Jose. I would rather value other people and grow with them and look at their strengths and grow together. And you're stronger as a group versus being this single individual, especially if my belief system is flawed in an area. I certainly don't want to go my whole life doing things or believing things a certain way. So, yeah, so this card, again, we got that orangey fire. We've got the yellow for the illumination, enlightenment. But notice in periphery, we've got the black. So we have a lot of unknown, and again, people just not feeling heard or valued. Even down here, we've got a mountainous region. So the artist carried that forward. Again, we've got conflict, Now here, we've got little birds. And they're not getting along with each other. Each one of them, the way I see it, they want to build a nest. And the one is resenting the other one because, say there's a finite, limited amount of resources. They all want all of the ones for their nest. And no, they don't want to share. And no, they don't care about why the other little bird wants them. And so they're in the air and they're squabbling. And yeah, I think it does a really good job of showing that there are creative solutions. If they work together, I bet both of them could acquire what they need to make 2 really awesome nests. But instead of putting 2 heads together, communicating and making the best decisions, they just want what's already available. They could possibly be the bigger wands, like the bigger limbs off the tree. And it's like, again, it's so counterproductive, you know. And again, we have that shading. So it's not a comfortable situation. And honestly, any type of conflict, it's not going to be comfortable, you know. And then here's another one. And this one shows the crows, and they each are carrying a different colored wand. So each has something different to say. And instead of working together to create something beautiful, they each want for everybody else to follow their lead and do what they want to do, or maybe think and believe the way that they do. And we do have that mountainous region for our ground. There is some orange-red coloration. So with red, we're also thinking anger, okay? In the sky, there's a lot of cloud cover, so we have a lot of unknown and uncertainty. And again, we have those orange and red hues in the background, you know? And I just remembered that I need to pull my card that I always end things with. It's not based on Rider-Waite-Smith. Because you know how I like to end with that. Because my teaching point on all these videos is if somebody is thinking about buying their first deck, that it should be based on Rider-Waite-Smith. And I think, ending with this kind of helps with that. So let's say somebody's totally new to tarot. They've never picked up a card and they're learning. And just briefly reflect on what we've covered. And say they pull this. Now, intuitively, they can see there's 5 spears. So if you're looking at it from the wand viewpoint, because this is a symbol for this deck for a wand, okay? And there's the Roman numeral for 5. I get more sword vibes from this versus a wand. And then with the snake, there is this snake, which I believe it would be actually more than one snake here, actually. We have, from what I can make out, 3 snakes. So there's 2 down here, and then there's 1 up ahead, and they're all intertwined. So for me, it kind of does represent that things are a bit counterproductive. Maybe each of these are searching for that yellow, that of warmth, because snakes like the warm weather, right? Because they're cold-blooded. But it could be they're seeking that enlightenment and knowledge and illumination. And maybe this one is kind of rising above all that. So say if you know the base meaning of the card, you can make up a story in your head and see the meaning in the card. But if you've never done tarot before, you're really going to be stumped about, okay, especially if you're reading for yourself or other people, what to take from this card. You know, that's why I always tell people the way to go would be Rider-Waite-Smith. Because again, look at the common symbols and colors that carry over, you know. And again, my other decks I've been using have those Rider-Waite-Smith components. So we do have some commonality here, you know. Which is good. It's good when they carry over that symbolism and color use too, because colors have meaning to them, you know. And then ending with this one. So I think that wraps things up. Of course, if you're available, feel free to come see me tonight. I'll be working with Sharon and Kyle at the Grand Slam from 5 to 10. And then I will be back tomorrow at 8 p.m. And that will be for another Tarot Teaching Moment. And that will wrap us up for the Tarot Teaching Moments for the week, since I'll be doing the book club on Saturdays with Honor. And yeah, that's just come and go as you please. It's going to be a similar thing, but it's going to be solely based out of the book covering a card. So we're using that book more as a resource, as a different way of looking at the cards to build on what we've already been doing, you know. And I'm so excited to have Honor. She's given me so much very constructive insight and ways of doing things. And it really makes me excited to have other people in our group stepping up to do these group readings, because I know that I am part of a just an outstanding group of people. They've been practicing tarot, so they could be early on in their journey, or they could be very seasoned, who could do a reading and share a different way of doing it. It could be a different spread, a different way of looking at the cards, because it drives home how important that intuition is. And plus, we're a group, and groups are more than one, just one person and one person's insight. We're stronger together. So I love that we're branching out a bit and seeing where that takes us. And I'm very appreciative for your presence. And Christy, I know you've been hanging out with me this whole time, and I value you more than I could put into words in your friendship. You are awesome. And so I will talk to you later. Bye.